You ready? My coach, Barbara H. Smith. Why did I hire her? Because she's the best.
Barbara H. Smith is a powerhouse. She just walks in the room and grabs your attention, and she does that in a way that just makes you feel loved and like she's paying attention to you. She cares about you, and she wants to see you be your best self.
She was able to dig inside and find the passion that was deep within me.
Barbara's energy is one of the reasons that I had to have her as my coach. I love the way she is real with people.
The reason I felt like I needed a coach was because I have some big goals and I needed to build my confidence. I knew that Barbara could help me do that.
I felt that I could trust her.
I would definitely recommend to get coaching from Barbara H. Smith if you feel like you need to level up your confidence. She would just help you feel like bold, like you can take on the world.
She has really shown me who I am. She has changed my mindset to a place that I know that I am more powerful today than I would have ever been if I had never met Barbara Smith.
Oh, yeah. Here we go. Here we go. Yes, it's time. It's time for the Empowering You Show. Welcome, welcome, welcome. And why are you watching the Empowering You Show? Well, I hope it's because you know that we have phenomenal guests. And I hope you know it's because we showcase small business owners and people who are doing phenomenal things in the community. Today's no different. We have a spectacular guest for you today. But before I bring up our guest, let me bring to the show the sexy, spicy Shani Smith.
Oh, it is I. How are you today?
Hey, beautiful. How are you today?
You know, I'm good. I can't believe it's June 15th.
Lord,
what happened in June? I literally was like, "Oh, June 1st. Okay, we're getting started," and here we are on the 15th.
Yeah, and the closer we get to the end of the month, the more excited I get.
I know. Because what?
I'm getting ready to go to the motherland again. That's why.
Just saying.
Super excited. What do we got going on immediately that we can talk about before we bring our guest up?
Well, immediately we have a phenomenal volume 2 of Empowering You coming out. Empowering You, it's your time. Step into your greatness.
Yeah.
Let go of the past. Wait.
Volume 1.
I'm messing that all up. You know why? Because I was in volume 1. That's why I'm messing all up. I'm sorry, authors.
Yeah, apologize to our new authors. Yeah, it's an anthology. But you got it. It was your time in the first anthology. And what was the second one?
Let go of the past and step into your greatness. I have to remind myself of that multiple times a day. Let go of the past. You are forgiven.
Let go. Say that part again. Forgive yourself because you are forgiven.
Mm-hmm.
So powerful. And so the difference is last time I was an observer of the process, and this time I am involved in the process. So I am one of the writers as well in this book, and it has been a journey, and I can't wait till it's released August 5th so that we can share it with the world. But now,
get your tissues though. I'm just saying.
Get your box of Kleenex next to you because you're going to need it. But now I want to introduce our guest. Our guest is a healthcare consultant and a keynote speaker based in Dallas, Texas. With over 20 years of healthcare experience in hospitals and healthcare staffing, she empowers leaders who struggle with, wait for it, imposter syndrome and self-doubt. Her consulting firm specializes in accreditation, change management, training, and leadership development. This passion has helped several organizations push beyond what's expected by focusing in on understanding why individual contributions matter, and they do, regardless of what role it is, to create monumental, long-term shifts that impact their people. She covers topics that help leaders identify limiting beliefs, gain self-confidence, develop tactical skills, find their power, inspire others, and she believes that embracing who you are is the secret sauce of exactly what every organization needs. Some of her recent speaking engagements include Speak Up Women's Conference, New Jersey Association for Ambulatory Surgical Services, say that 3 times fast, the Texas Medical Association Healthcare Compliance Brief, American Staffing Association, and now she is on the Empowering You show with my guest. Shani Smith is not my guest, with my co-host, Shani Smith. Help me bring to the show Therese Gopal Robinson.
Hi. I mean, I was like, as you were like saying all that, I'm like, my God, this woman sounds incredible. Yes.
I think I know her.
I like her.
Who that is? I don't know her either. Yes, we do. We know
Yes.
you from Speak Up Women. And I want to say thank you so much for coming to the show. And thank you so much for being a force in the healthcare community. We don't know who we're going to have serving us in the healthcare community. We don't know what baggage they come with. We don't know what circumstances they may have experienced.
Yep.
And I'm glad your work is allowing them to shine who they are.
Yeah.
So,
Yes.
Shani always first dibs. So Shani, you got questions?
I mean, the first thing I'd have to talk about is just being authentic. Like, we're all guilty of it at some point, no matter what we say. But it's going back to finding who you are is so hard. Like, how do you even begin to help somebody nix and kick that imposter syndrome to the curb?
Yeah. So, you just said a bunch of things. And so the first thing is, I'm going to be honest with you, right? We're being authentic here. We're being who we are. That was not where I started. That was not my intention. That was never even on the radar for me. Really, what I do today started as a result of me me struggling with imposter syndrome for so many years in my career. Oh yes. So, when I say years, I mean, I would say 18 of the 20 plus years. And that was even after getting multiple degrees, multiple promotions, doing all, getting all the things. But I was always waiting for someone to say, wait a minute, Therese, you don't belong here. I was always waiting for that. And so my journey started when I mustered up just enough courage to ask for a promotion. And it was a promotion that I deserved. And I say that because the data proved it, right? I tried to look at facts, but I mustered up the courage, had that time scheduled with my leader, and began my pitch for a promotion, and I was fired instead. And so, yes.
Wait, pause, breathe, pause.
Yes. Yes.
That's not the climax I thought I was looking for.
No, I did not end up the CEO of the organization. No, I was fired.
But was it a result, do you think, of asking for the promotion?
No, I think it was, it was in the height of the pandemic. And so like many organizations, they were struggling financially. And I survived many layoffs prior to that. And my position, I thought, was one that, was needed. And so even in the height of the pandemic, my team still experienced phenomenal success and productivity and quality and all of those things. And so a promotion was something that, was discussed multiple times, right? But it just never was the right time. And so I honestly think it was the luck of the draw for me. I don't believe the timing of me getting terminated had anything to do with me asking for a promotion, but it was just kind of that, well, damn kind of moment, Right. And so, I don't believe that it had anything to do with me asking, but just the timing was incredible. And it was extremely humbling and sobering. But more than that, Shani and Barbara, what it did for me in that moment was it confirmed all the bad things that I already thought about myself.
Wait a minute.
Right. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So first of all, looking back, let me clarify something for you that I want you to take with you forever.
Yes.
We don't get what we deserve. we get what we work for.
Yeah.
Thank you, Michelle Pippin, my coach. And you worked for the promotion.
Yep.
So in the corners, in the annals of your mind, that needs to be totally removed from your speech even.
Yeah.
It's what I worked for. It's what you worked for.
It was.
And it just happened that it came at a time when we were experiencing a global shutdown.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And so what was really interesting was, all of those things that I thought about myself in terms of waiting to be found out, in that moment, right? So it was in that moment as it was happening, it just confirmed all the things, right? It confirmed all of the things that I was telling myself over these years. Now,
Look at the enemy. Look at the enemy.
Right. So just 2 years later, though, now 2 years later, I don't feel that way, but in that moment it did. And so to answer your question before, how did I get to starting to help others and all these things? It was never my intention. Honestly, I was trying to survive, and I spent a good month or two really struggling, really trying to figure out, I was burned out, I was exhausted, I was all those things. And I didn't have any confidence, but I was applying for jobs and being miserable as I was applying for jobs.
Well, pause right there again. Okay, so you're in this space, this headspace. And the reason why I want to pause you there is because many listeners will be watching this after the fact. And I really want them to understand that because you're in that headspace at that moment does not dictate what's going to happen to your future, right? No. And so let me put my coaching hat on for a second for those in the audience. And so even if this seems like the worst, the rock bottom worst that could happen to you, everything is moving according to what you think and what you say. I had to learn this the hard way, Therese. And so when in that moment, you're right. In that moment, you are feeling like less than. You're feeling all the things that you thought in your mind.
Oh, yeah.
So it's a self-fulfilling what?
Yeah, exactly. And so I'd like to be able to say that I got myself out of it after really doing some self-reflection. I'd love to be able to say that, but that's not the truth. The truth is, after a month of just, lots of wine, lots of tears, applying for jobs that I knew I would hate before I even got the interview, my husband sat me down one Sunday morning and said, you know what, we need to talk. And my thought was exactly that. My thought was uh-oh.
Yeah. The other shoe's going to drop now, right?
Right, exactly. Right. And he said, I've known you for 20 years, and what I've known about you is you've always dreamt about doing this, and that. And he said, he invited me to speak at one of his conferences a long time ago. And he said, Therese, I always knew you were a good speaker, but I didn't know you were that good. And he said, to date, you are the only speaker that people continuously request over and over. And he said, he calls me babe, and he said, babe, you have something to offer others. You may not know what it is, but this is your opportunity. This is your crossroads. Yes, this is your opportunity. And, what he did for me in that moment, which he didn't realize, was that he opened up the gates for me and let me run through. And let me tell you why, because I've always had a supportive spouse, but maybe almost sometimes to the point of overly supportive. For instance, if I said, you know what, Kevin, I want to be a princess. Like, I want to be a legitimate princess. He would say, okay, is there an application process? Do we need to move out of the country? Like, what do we need to do to make this happen?
All ready for you, babe.
Right. Like, what do I need to do to make this happen? Right. And so, although that's great, what, for someone like me who struggles with imposter syndrome, what that does is in the back of my head, I'm thinking, okay, are you supporting me because you believe that I can do it? Are you supporting me because it's what you're supposed to do and you're just waiting for me to like fail and get to my senses? And so the fact that he approached me with this, what he did in that moment was he opened the gates and he let me run free. And that's essentially what happened, because he brought this to me. I never had that on the table because if I had to pick kind of who I am, I'm a survivor. And so I'm always in survival mode. and I'm in the do whatever it takes to make sure we're okay mode. So if I have to, drive Uber and deliver pizzas and, clean toilets, I'm doing that. I am the survivor. And so what he did was challenge me to think beyond survival and think about thriving and think about excelling and think about dreaming and doing all these stuff. I've just only fantasized about it. So in that moment, he opened the gates, and that's kind of the starting point. And so the starting point for me was, and this is literally said to myself, I don't want to have to work for anyone ever again in my life. I don't know what that looks like, but now I'm going to only do the things that I like. I don't know what that looks like, but that's all I'm doing. Right. Yes. And so that's how it started. And so, it required, getting back to Shani's question from, I don't know now, 100 years ago. She asked me, I'm very long-winded with my answers, but getting back to how do you get to that point of helping others? It really started with the fact that a lot of my clients were healthcare staffing organizations and hospitals initially. And they called me because they wanted help with improving quality or improving processes. And I'm telling you this right now, I'm saying it for everybody who's listening. 100% of the time, if you have a problem with productivity, quality, process, you can tie it back to your leaders 100% of the time.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And so that's where it started for me, because I was working with a lot of leaders who, as you may or may not know, in healthcare, we tend to be pushed into these roles because of either need or just tenure. But we don't.
It's not just healthcare.
Right. It's not just healthcare. There you go.
That's why we have it.
Right. And so what happens is we're pushed into these roles and we're not given the support, the guidance, the nourishment that we need. And a lot of times we're pushed into these roles and we're already struggling with our own things. And so what happens is when you deal with somebody who's, quote, a micromanager, it's not about you, it's about them. It's about them lacking confidence in themselves as a leader, which makes them feel like they have to watch every single thing that you're doing and double check everything, because they don't believe in themselves and what they gave to you enough to respect that you're able to do it. And so that was really the starting point for me, because I just kept coming across these leaders and they were all like me. And one thing about me, Barbara, you know this, I'm an open book. I will share whatever is going on or whatever I've dealt with, my mistakes included. And trust me, I've had many.
You ain't got no monopoly on that. Stop that.
Say that again?
So you ain't got no monopoly on that. Stop that.
Right. But yeah. But what happened though was the response I was getting from these leaders saying, hey, can we meet again? Or do you offer something where maybe I could just work with you one-on-one? You're the first person I've spoken to that doesn't make me feel like a crazy person.
And you found the need came to you.
Yeah, basically.
Right.
And then people started calling and asking if I would speak to, their orientation or their annual conferences and things like that. And so that's really how it started for me. And I just discovered this love for something that I had no intention of ever doing. Now I'm
going to interject for a second about the leadership first.
Yeah.
Shani, you never had a micromanager, did you?
Please listen. That is probably like my worst ideal situation is because I don't work that way. And the more you push me, the more I push back. And then it just makes a whole frustrating scenario, because what we're not going to do, that's how I like to start off the conversation. What we're not going to do is this. Okay. We're not doing this.
And the micromanagers come in all shapes and sizes.
Right.
Hey out there, Love Misunderstood Institute. We are loving you that you're out there. How you doing, Stephanie? You're out there. Tag a friend, tell them to come along. We've talked about leadership and leadership skills at the moment. So you were a non-confident leader yourself, and now you empower leaders with confidence building skills. What's that look like exactly?
So the biggest thing is you've got to look at the facts. Right. And so, because if we're left to our own devices, many times we can make up all kinds of stories in our heads. And before we know it, we walk into a room, or I come onto a platform like this and I can think, okay, Shani and Barbara, oh my gosh, they're so gifted. They're so beautiful. They're so intelligent. Like, why am I even here? They probably think I am the worst guest ever. They're not going to air this. They're going to, like, you know, block me when this is done. If you're left to your own devices and you're not very careful, that's what can happen. But instead, look at the facts. And so, you know, that's what I do every single day when I start to get that mean girl voice, because I have that mean girl. I think we all do on some level. Maybe some of us don't. But when I start to hear her being mean to me, I start thinking about the facts. And the facts are,
we all got that mean girl. We all got the mean girl.
Right. And the facts are, listen, I've been in my career for over 20 years. I have multiple degrees. I have a master's degree. I have been successful with every single client I've ever worked with in my life. I have a 100% success rate, right? And I am doing some amazing things. That's the facts, right?
She got a brag along. She got a brag along.
Exactly.
Yes.
Right.
I was going to say that. Our guest last week, Lois Barth, talked about having an evidence file.
Right. It's the facts. That's exactly what it is. So anytime that mean girl comes around, I put a muzzle on her and I pull out the facts and I tell her, listen, calm yourself, because these are the facts. And so that's the first thing that I work with people, you know, as a leadership coach or a leadership, you know, peer consultant or whatever you want to call it. But I talk to them a lot about, well, let's talk about the facts. So I don't want to hear so much about how you feel or what you're thinking. Tell me what the facts are, right? And that's and it's so basically, you know, when they start looking at the facts, they go, oh my gosh, like, man, I didn't realize that I did all these really great things. And I said, exactly. So when you're operating as a leader, you have to operate from a facts space. Now let's talk. And then we start there and then we build upon that. So my leadership coaching approach is I focus on what are the things that, you know, you're putting in front of you that's getting in your way. And I say you're putting in front of you that's getting in your way, because that's what it is. It's not my boss, Barbara. It's not my, you know, my coworker, Shani, who's just fantastic. It's me. It's all about me. And so, yeah. And so as leaders, you know, that is where I come from. Let's first look at the facts, and then we can kind of build around that, because there's so many things that lead to leaders who are micromanagers or seem kind of disconnected, or all of the negative things that we think about when we think of bad leaders. Bad leaders are not bad people. They're just people that have great intentions and they make not that much of great decisions in the moment. And it normally comes from a place of insecurity. And so if I were to deal with an employee like Shani, who said, we're not doing these things that, you know, the comment that you just made, I would immediately be intimidated by her. And as a result of that, I would push on her even harder, because of the fact I'm intimidated, because she's probably smarter than me. She's probably looking to get my job. And they're probably gonna hire her and fire me. Like, these are the things that go through heads. Yes,
I can see that.
So yeah, so you know, most of the time when you see a leader walking around an organization that is not well liked, or, you know, organization or whatever, it's probably because they're struggling and they're bullying themselves. They're struggling with imposter syndrome. And so, you know, we have to give ourselves some grace, but it starts off with, let's look at the facts first, and then let's work our way up from there.
Wow. Awesome. That is so awesome. And I got to shout out, my mama's out there watching, and my Nikki, my cousin Nikki Arrington is out there watching. Thanks for watching, guys. Tag a friend, tell them to jump in. We're talking to Therese Gopal Robinson. She's given us great techniques about how we as leaders have employees or leadership employees that don't do what they're supposed to do because they have insecurities, imposter syndrome, and self-defeating thoughts. Yeah, man.
It's interesting because I didn't really look at it like this until we had this conversation, Therese. I used to feel like people who were micromanagers were doing that because they had no control at home, not necessarily over themselves. So it's a really good way to think of it. And as I'm kind of dealing with the situation where I'm trying to adapt to this new, I guess they're millennials is what is happening now. Because I'm finding it very challenging to connect with people who don't really have the emotional skills set that I'm used to.
Yeah.
And how not to become a workplace bully of a leader myself, and just trying to really have some compassion with them. So do you talk to the other side? I know you deal with the leadership, but do you help the other side of that, deal with leaders who have these deficiencies, is what I'm going to call it.
For sure. And here's what I'm going to say to you, Shani, is first of all, you weren't born a leader. You didn't wake up, you didn't come out the womb and just have all these fantastic skills, right? None of us were, right? We have certain natural abilities for sure, but a lot of it is learned. And so, I hear that a lot. Well, these millennials, they're entitled and they come in and they expect, and everybody gets an award for participation, right? You hear all that stuff. But I always challenge leaders when I hear that. And I say, think about yourself when you first started off. Think about the leaders that you had. Maybe you have one or two that you really just admire, right? Maybe you've got somebody that you go back and you go, my gosh, that was my mentor, or that was my, whatever. For me, Charles McGee was mine. Right. But you got to think back to them, because that's where those folks are today. They are just now, but you were like that when you first started off. You probably were a little over, maybe you would like to think that you weren't.
I'm not claiming that.
We would like to think that we weren't, but there are probably certain aspects of our behavior at that time because we were young, we didn't know any better, whatever. And so
we knew everything.
Yeah, right. So I challenge leaders to think back to where they were when they first started, and think about the qualities in the mentors they had, and look at yourself, whip out that mirror and look at yourself and ask yourself that question. Am I exhibiting those same behaviors and qualities as the mentors and bosses I had who helped me grow? If the answer is yes, great. Now you have to use those skills on these folks. If the answer is no, then you have some work to do. So
a whole bunch of work to do. Listen, exactly. I want to cut you off right here, because we're going to talk to, we're going to shout out Stephanie Hockenhull, who's saying that's great information. Both we have the staff and themselves that they don't have control over. And it's called the fight or flight syndrome. So you want to either fight them or flee. So right there, we need to and take a brief break.
Yeah.
Breathe to rest.
And I want to get into that fight or flight thing. We got to tackle that.
All right, we're going to come back with the Muhammad Ali effect. Yes, right after this break.
After this break, we're going to come back with fight or flight. How do we navigate through employees that might be just like when we first started? After the break. Stay right there. Don't go away. I am a child of the Most High God. He has gifted me in ways that I could not even imagine and didn't know. There was a time when I didn't know who I was. I listened to other people tell me who I should be, what I should do. I listened to people telling me that I should be a boutique owner, that I should be a construction manager, that I should be a laborer. Have you ever felt like you should do something else, be something else, go somewhere else, be wherever you wanted to be, and you felt like you were in a box? Anybody in the room? And you couldn't get out? Anybody in the room? And you kept trying to go and you couldn't get out? Anybody in the room? But let me tell you, you need to rock the box. Rock the box. I am engaging, inspiring, and empowering. I would give you every everything I know. Just by touching you, if I could, by osmosis, give you every single thing I've learned, I've gone through, I know I would. We know that's not possible, but as it is possible, I love to share information with people. Some of you out there, people have told you that you can't be, you can't have, you can't do. But I will tell you, like Kingston said, you can, you must, and you will. If it's to be, it's going to be me. You got to say it. If it's to be, it's going to be. If it's to be, it's going to be. If it's to be, it's going to be.
Barbara is because she believed what her mama said about her and not what other people told her.
Every day you wake up, when you're in a situation, it's your choice whether it's an advantage or the disadvantage.
She gained her confidence and her life, and now she is a testimony.
If I can help you elevate yourself, then I feel like I'm elevating my own self as well. What you know and I know together can change the world.
Oh, yeah. I know. I was just like really into that. I forgot I was doing this show.
Yeah, man, so cool. I want you to take notice of the sizzle reel so that you can get yours as a speaker. Okay, what are the components? I want to shout out Stephanie Hockenhull. She has a show on Sunday at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time with her son. And it's all about her bullying experience and bullying in the workplace. Mm-hmm. And so her son and Jean and she do a show on Sunday night. Don't miss it. It's right here on Pod TV. In addition, stay tuned after the show. There's another show that comes up right behind us called The Wall Street Hackers with Peter Bennett. Don't miss that. So we're back with Therese Gopal Robinson.
We're back. We're about to talk about fight or flight. Just saying. Before you get into that, though, I have to say, when I was just starting work, I was still brighter than some of the things that I'm getting right now. That's all. Okay. I digress.
That's a good show. Okay. Yeah. So as far as getting to a place where you're in this fight or flight space, right, as a leader, couple of things. The first thing is, make no mistake, whether or not you were forced into your role, mm-hmm. you made a choice to take that role.
Wow.
Whether or not
we gotta really think about that.
Yes.
Let that marinate for a second.
Regardless of how
you no. You say we can say no.
Yeah, believe it or not, you can. Watch. No. See how easy that was? See how easy that was? But that's not what I was expecting. Because sometimes as leaders, we can find every reason to every excuse in terms of, well, they didn't set us up for success. Well, we don't have the right systems. Well, I don't have enough staff. Oh, they don't understand. And all of that may be true. But at the end of the day, regardless of how you got to that position, you made the choice to accept that position. And so that's the first thing. So if you're getting to a place, it does kind of hurt that you're responsible for your own actions, huh? I know. It took me a while to accept that. But it's the truth. You made the choice. So I'll be honest with you, there's a lot of talk about, is it what you're meant to do in life, or is it your passion? And I'll be honest, I don't care, because you made the choice. So whether or not it's your passion or you're called to do the work, you made the choice to be here. And as such, you have an obligation. And as such, you must choose to be excellent. You must choose excellence, right? And so when you get to that place of like, okay, I might have to leave, or I'm about to call, Shani into the parking lot. Like, let's do this, Shani, because I can't with you anymore.
Right?
Right, exactly. You got to stop and think, why am I here? Mm-hmm. Right? How did I get here? And then B, what are some things that, you're wanting to accomplish while you're in that role? I always look at leadership as a source of calmness. That's why you're here, right? You're here to level set, keep everyone focused and engaged. But that starts with you. I'm sorry, I don't care what's going on in your organization with your people, your boss, your team, your whatever, the coffee's not right. I don't really care, because your feeling of fight or flight comes from within. And so you really have to start and think, why am I here? What is it that I'm hoping to gain from this? Right? And what's next for me? And so, because listen, regardless of what's going on, be very mindful of the fact that in any industry, not just healthcare, as large as it is, it's very small. And so, and so be mindful of your actions and be mindful of the choices that you make, because, the bridge that you may burn today may be the bridge you need to get to the next step tomorrow. And so be very careful with that. So yes, we all struggle, but always go back to self. Why am I here? I made the choice to be here. And have I done everything that I can or could to be successful in this role? Have I given my team everything? Have I, and here's a big one, have I exhibited what's called managerial courage? And
hold up. Wait a minute. I need to put some Shani spice in it. Shani.
Get it.
Shani.
So, first of all, what we're not going to do is try to make me cry today, because I totally needed this conversation based off of what happened to me yesterday.
Oh no. Okay.
Yes.
Shani, pause. I was so thinking that just now. Therese has no clue what our conversation was right before the show. She has no clue that this conversation, though Therese is addressing it to the audience, is hitting Shani dead in the forehead.
I'm not doing this. We're not doing this.
Oh no.
We're not doing this.
So go ahead, Shani. I didn't mean to interrupt. I just had to say that.
Hit me all in the forehead, and I got a good target, good size target. So yes, you hit me all in the forehead with this.
Me too.
And
it's okay.
I needed this. I really needed this, because that was one of the things that came out of my mouth. They're not setting me up for success with what they're giving me. And you just said, nope, I don't care. You accepted it. You're so right. You so right on time. Oh my God.
Yeah.
I hear you guys. Okay.
Yeah.
And that's okay.
And that's the thing. It's just that you always have to look at the choices that you're making. But learning to have managerial courage is a big part of it. And I don't know if you guys have heard of that term, managerial courage, but essentially it's being a leader who's courageous enough to be vulnerable. And what I mean by vulnerable is things like asking for feedback, right? So we spend a lot of time criticizing what everyone's doing around us, but it's really hard for us to see what we're doing or not doing. And so managerial courage is having that courage to be vulnerable enough to ask for feedback, to say what needs to be said and speak up in the moment. That's hard. That's really hard, especially when you're afraid that I might lose my job. I need my job, my kids, my mortgage, all these different things. But and then also having the courage to have the difficult conversations with your leaders, your peers, and your teammates, and doing it in a way that is productive and not emotional. And so it goes right back to what I said before. What are the facts, right? Because if I'm having a difficult conversation with Shani about her performance, this is not an attack on Shani. It's not because I think Shani's a bad human. It's because of the fact that there's some things here that are not meeting the expectations of the role. And so the first thing I'm going to ask Shani is, what can I do better as your leader to help you be more successful?
Ooh, she just sighed. Ooh, she just sighed. Ooh, she just sighed.
Let's start there. And I'm telling you guys, and for anyone who's listening, if you're in that space of fight or flight, pause, just take a time out and ask yourself those questions. Why am I here? Have I always made the choice to be excellent? And have I given what is needed from my team? And have I asked? And that's hard because a lot of times, especially if you're struggling with your own confidence, you don't want to ask for feedback because you're afraid of what might be.
You don't want to ask
what
for
might be
help,
said.
period.
And you don't want to ask for help because I got it. Because somewhere along the way, a lot of leaders got that message that leadership is equal to having all the answers and knowing all the things. And that's just not true. Leadership. Go ahead, Barbara.
Add to that, when you're having that emotion, acknowledge what the emotion is, but then ask yourself, is this serving me? Or is this,
that's right.
Is this sabotaging me? Is it serving or sabotaging?
Right.
And then go on to leadership that you were going to say, Therese. I didn't want to cut you off, but I wanted to add to what you were saying.
Right. And so, you know, as a leader, you have to have that, you have to be courageous enough to have those tough conversations, and you have to be courageous enough to say, I don't know, because guess what, guys? Everybody knows you don't know. They already know you don't know. So it's okay to say you don't know in the moments when you don't know, because everybody knows. But going back to that space of, think about it. How is it that there are people, let's say in healthcare, nurses who have worked in hospitals where they're continuously short-staffed, they have too many patients, they don't know if they're going to get enough funding, they're in high areas with, you know, high-level trauma on a daily basis, constantly, and they show up every day with joy. That didn't come from the environment. That came from within.
Sure didn't come from the environment.
No, it sure didn't. So it's not about where you're working. It's not about the environment. It's about you and what you bring to the table. And if it is that you bring joy and a certain level of self-confidence with a sprinkling of vulnerability, then you can be happy even in the toughest situations. That being said, yes, there are some times where you have to say, you know what? It's time to move on, and that's okay. But my advice will always be, don't burn that bridge while you're standing on it, please. Okay? Do all of the things that you should be doing and that you would expect someone else to do for you. Set that team up for success. Overshare with your knowledge and your time, and make sure that you're always accessible even afterward, and do what you can to support that organization, because that organization is like any other structure, any other being. They go through changes. They want to be better. They may not know how to, and maybe it's not a good fit for you, and that's completely fine. But make sure you do what you can to leave them in a position where they can be successful.
That was so good. That was so good. I want to talk about what Mark Lee has in the background. Mark said, first of all, that inner critic thing is dynamic. He's not gone for jobs because of talking himself out of it. All of us have done that.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, I'm surprised to hear you say that, Mark, because most of the time women will look at a list of 10 things on a job description, and if even one of them is not something that they can do, they won't apply. A man, on the other hand, most men, on the other hand, can be qualified with only 2 of those 10 things, and I'm going for this. So it's surprising to hear you say that. Then he also said when his mom was sick, she took a teaching moment with a nurse that was about serving somebody else who would not agree with her, and he wished more medical professionals would listen to their patients. That's a whole nother show about about medical professionals not listening to their patients. We're not going to go into that right now because we got about 15 minutes less.
Yes. But I will say one thing, because you know healthcare is my heart, and so one thing I will say is that 9.9 times out of 10, if you're experiencing a situation like that, it's not because they don't want to. It's because of the fact, you know, the statistics are showing it. We are in a significant shortage overall in healthcare, nurses, doctors, techs, you name it, that we're short. And so a lot of times it's as a result of going 100 miles an hour and not recognizing or realizing that. And that is why we have to be an advocate for ourselves and for our families as well, which sounds like that's exactly what his mom was doing, which is amazing, because, you know, our healthcare workforce, they are burned out, right? I mean, physicians right now, physician burnout and physician suicide is 30 something more percent than the general population. Physicians are at a higher risk of suicide than any other person in this country, including combat veterans.
You ever look what they're facing day in and day out?
Yes,
They're facing
right.
death and sickness day in and day out. I applaud anyone, even though you're working with the leadership of the healthcare profession, I applaud any person in the healthcare profession that serves clients at all, because I can't
At
do
any
it.
level. Right.
At any level.
Yes.
At any
Yes.
level. So I
Yep.
can't do it. I can't do it. It's
Yeah,
not my
because it's not even just about the clinicians; it's also about the administrative folks in
Yeah.
healthcare. Their
Anybody.
burnout is it's
Yeah.
crazy. It's really really crazy. And so, but like you said, that's a whole different topic for a whole another time. But you know, our healthcare workforce overall, I'll just say this: they need our support for sure. And the way that we can show support is by having these kinds of conversations and really doing what we can to advocate for ourselves and for them as well. That's all I'll say. Until next time.
And that's not true. How can we get connected with you, Therese?
So I am still working through this social media stuff. I'm trying to, thank goodness I have an 18-year-old daughter who's like, you know, coaching me through most of this, but I am on Instagram. It's just my name, Therese_Gopal Robinson. And then I'm on LinkedIn, just my name, because again, if I did anything other than my name, I would forget it. I'm being honest. And then my website as well, ThereseGR.com. And so from there, you can find my email, you can message me there. And I have a lot of, you know, some of my on-demand things that I'm working on focused on leadership would be housed there. And also, too, if anyone's on this call and they're interested, and I'm launching my very first live leadership coaching class. So I'm doing a class. Yes, July 10th. I'm so excited. And it's going to be focusing on how we can get out of our own way. That's,
Oh,
you know,
don't we all need it?
Yes.
July 10th, what? Give us more details. What time?
Yeah, so it's actually going to be a 5-week class, and so we'll meet once a week for 5 weeks with an agenda and all of those things. But the focus will be for those folks who feel like I might not be the best leader out there, and I'm not quite sure why. Those are the folks that I want to talk to, because I've been there. I've done that several times, unfortunately. And so we're going to really kind of tackle some of the things like, you know, why are you here, like I mentioned, or recognizing some of your limiting beliefs about yourself, your organization, your team, and then developing what I talked about earlier, which is that managerial courage. So really kind of taking a time out and really talking through what are the things that I'm doing that's constantly getting in my way.
How are you promoting this besides this show is definitely promoting it, but how are you promoting it? I'm wondering if you have tapped into not just social media, but other healthcare professionals who are doing leadership, contacting in HR departments and asking them, would they fund for their employees a leadership course? What are you doing something extra?
Well, that's a really great idea, Barbara, and I'm going to follow up on that right after this call.
Right on top of that, Rose.
Right, yeah, I'm right on that. No, but that's actually a really great idea. And so I am doing some things with organizations outside of this, but I've not necessarily tapped them on the shoulder to say, hey, you know, why don't you pay for your folks to do this? That's a really great idea. So I am promoting it on social media, my email lists and things like that. And some of the organizations, my past clients who are interested in having their folks attend some of this, because this class will be a little bit different in the fact that this is not leadership 101. This is not, okay, here are the 10 things you need to do to be a great leader. It's not about that. This is about,
it's enough of that already.
About, hey, do you think you kind of suck? All right, well, come on and join us because we're going to figure it out together. And we're going to get down to the reasons, you know, that you're doing a lot of the things that you're doing. Because again, like I said, things like micromanaging and all those things, those come from a place of insecurity. And a lot of times, and Barbara, you heard me mention this a while back, a lot of times, if you tag yourself as an overachiever, studies and statistics are showing that over half of the folks who are tagged as overachievers suffer from imposter syndrome. Yeah. And they overachieve as a result of constantly feeling like they're not enough. So they do more, they stay longer, they get there first. They're doing too much. They're doing all this
stuff. Right? I was doing that stuff a while ago. I was doing that stuff.
Yeah. And so, and you don't even realize that you're doing it.
Enough. You are enough. You are
Right.
enough.
And you are. But a lot of people who, even if they're overachievers, physicians, all those folks, they are suffering from this. And I say suffering because
But they
it's
suffer
hard.
in silence, though, Therese, because they don't
Absolutely.
want anyone to know. That's therefore imposter syndrome. They don't want anyone to know that they really are not as confident as they appear to be. And so
Exactly.
how do you get to somebody who doesn't want you to know that they're overachieving because they feel like an imposter? How do you get to them?
Yeah, yeah. And you get to them by exactly what I just said, having some of those let me tell you something. You ever saw that boss that seems a little bit, I don't know, full of themselves? They always have the answer. They're always, right? They're the ones that talk the most in the boardrooms. I can guarantee you that they're struggling with some level of self-confidence issues or imposter syndrome, because it's a constant posturing. This is this constant thing that's happening because of the fact that they have to do that. Because if they don't, they'll just shrink away and they'll fizzle away.
But how do you get to them is my question. Because
so,
you know it, you can observe the behavior, you see it, you know it. This person is suffering from imposter syndrome. So how do I get that person to say, I need that help?
Well, how do I get to them? If I'm working with clients and I identify that, I do pull them aside. I pull aside the individual and say, because you have to be very careful, because I don't want to be disrespectful or seem as such. Alienate, but also I don't want to seem like I'm pitching for more work and business, right? And so I have to be very careful with that, but I will pull them aside, and I may go to my, organizational sponsor and say, hey, listen, I think that your leadership team collectively might, benefit from us doing some additional leadership coaching. Let's talk through that a little bit. Let me tell you what I think you might achieve as a result. Now, if you're just some person that's listening to me right now and saying, gosh, Therese, I think that might be me. Get onto my website, go ahead and book a 30-minute free consultation with me. And then we can kind of tackle, kind of like when Shani was talking about, oh my gosh, this just happened to me yesterday. If you're struggling with something or you're just overall struggling, book some time with me for 30 minutes. It's a free chat. And let's kind of talk through some of those things. And then we can determine what fits best for you in terms of the next steps. Because my goal, Barbara, is to help people, because gosh, I wish.
That's what I want you to do. I want you to do that. I also want you to know, have you ever heard of the Black Business Expo?
No, actually I did. You mentioned that to me a couple of months ago. Yes.
They are always looking for speakers. Your information is phenomenal, and they're always looking for not just good speakers, but good speakers with great information. Grant McGaw is one of those. Grant is in the healthcare space in Florida and in the hospitals there. So he's also very involved in the Black Business Expo. We can get you that information, or just go to blackbusinessexpousa.com, blackbusinessexpousa.com, and reach out to them that you would like to be a speaker. Yeah,
I will definitely do that. I'll definitely do that because, Barbara, I know we're running out of time, but I didn't start off thinking that this is what I was going to do. I just started off thinking, I just want to do the things I like. That's it. I don't even care what that is, but I'm going to do that. And, gosh, I wish there was somebody back 10, 15 years ago
to talk to you.
Yes, I do. And I feel sad sometimes for that version of me, but I do feel like that is a very reason why I'm able to do what I do today, because
you were ready then, sweetie.
Exactly. I grew through those years and I experienced so many of those things. And, when I do speeches and when I'm done with those talks and someone comes up to me in tears and says, oh my gosh, I felt like you were talking to me only. How did you know?
We got about 30 seconds more. Tell us where we can reach you again and where we can reach you again and how to reach out to you.
Yep. So I'm on Instagram, same name, Therese Gopal Robinson. I'm on LinkedIn with the same name. And then if you want to chat with me for 30 minutes, just log on to my website, Therese.com. Schedule some time and let's chat and let's kind of figure things out. But, I love meeting new people anyhow. So connect with me, Instagram, LinkedIn, or my website.
You have been a ray of sunshine on this show today. I am so glad you were here. I am so glad you were here. Did I say I was so glad you were here? Listen.
No, I don't think I heard you.
We are so all on my toes, smack me all in the head. But okay, I get it. I hear you.
And that was a very hard conversation. By the way, we do have some leadership training coming up in October at the Sisters Inspire Sisters to Advance event. You're not going to want to miss 6 sensational trainers, leaders, thought leaders, coaches who are going to pour out into executive women who are going to pour into and let you, it's called a retreat, but it's more like a recharge. We want to recharge these ladies, women who get pour out all the time. The ones who are expending a bunch of energy. They're always giving, but not really getting poured into. This is for you. I promise you, you will go away recharged, rejuvenated, and refreshed from the Sisters Inspire Sisters to Advance Retreat, October 13, 14, 15 in the beautiful city of Ocean City, Maryland. We'll have the details coming up this week. Shani, what else you got?
Man, I'm over here. My feet hurt. My head hurts because you done knocked me all in the head. I don't know. All I know was that this was divine. So on point. Even with Stephanie chiming in about bullying, it's so on point. We're not in touch with what's really going on.
Yeah.
And how to really manage through this. And as you just highlighted for us, how we take ownership of what's happening. I used to have a professor that would always say, bloom where you're planted. And I try to remind myself that here and there, bloom where you're planted. Like you can't always, bloom where you're planted, And it's easier said than done sometimes. Sometimes, life just gets frustrating and you gave me some good tools here. I got a mirror now. I'm already like, I'm going to put a mirror on my desk that says, are you the mentor that you had?
You have given us so many techniques and tips that for leadership that are so poignant and so on point at this time that you have no real clue what you've done today. And I am applauding you just again. I want to know, do you have other platforms to showcase what you do, other speaker platforms, other speaker gigs coming up? How to get on other people's stages and pages, OPSP.
Yeah, so upcoming stuff. So I'm actually doing, I'm attending a conference in August for an organization called Aviante Software. And so they're one of the software companies that service the staffing industry. And so they wanted me to come in and kind of talk more strategy, some of that stuff, but there will be a lot of leadership intertwined there. And I'll be meeting with their executive leadership team to just help them and coach them in terms of, becoming more efficient and some of those things. So that's what's happening in the very near future. I have some other things kind of working through, and get ready for the shameless plug. Maybe I'll be working with you in October. So did you see that? Did you see that, Shani? But honestly, if I have just 10 seconds, I wanted to say two things. And that is, regardless of where you are in your leadership journey, it's hard in the moment, but give yourself grace. You're human. You will make mistakes even when you are trying, and give yourself grace. Please do that. And just know that exactly who you are is exactly what is needed. Exactly who you are is what's needed. And so you don't need to change. You don't need to be this different, alter ego version. You just need to work on yourself and figure things out, but give yourself grace as you're growing as a human and as a leader. And then the last thing, 5 seconds, Barbara, I've got to thank you. I have to say thank you. And I say thank you to you because I met you a couple of months ago. When I first met you, you were so intimidating to me because you were just like, I'm amazing and I'm this great speaker and I do all these fantastic things. And I thought, holy moly.
Did I say I was amazing?
You were. And I love that about you. And I say thank you to you because I started applying that when I met people, really kind of being my own champion, which I never did prior to meeting you in April. And so I wanted to just say thank you for being your own champion and being a champion for others and teaching folks like me who, as I teach others, I'm still working through my own stuff.
Me.
Yeah, but because of that, I've learned a lot. So thank you.
Well, you are certainly welcome. Well, we have expended our time. I'm so happy to have the spicy Shani Smith. She's wearing her chef jacket today because she truly is a chef. We didn't get a chance to talk about all the spices that she does. But thank you so much, Therese, for being here. You know what time it is? I got my watch on today. You know what time it is. It's time for you to step into your greatness because the world is waiting for you. That's our time. We'll see you next week. Thank you so much, Shani. Thank you so much, Therese, for being here today.
Thank you, guys. This was fun. Thank you.
Stay on after the end. Stay on.
Engage, inspire, empower. That's what I help you do as a celebrity, speaker, trainer, and coach. Hi, I'm Barbara H. Smith, known as the Masterful Presenter. I am the one that can help you dig deep inside your passions and deep inside your life to get you to the place you always dreamed.
I had the pleasure of hearing Miss Barbara Holmes Smith speak today, and just from her speaking to me today, I have realized that I need to have personalized my alter ego and be able to put myself out there a lot more.
I help through speaking techniques, teaching you how to use your words and your body language to inspire people to come up higher.
Today's presentation with Ms. Barbara was just outstanding. She has really helped me with her personality, with her being so genuine and passionate about what she believes in and helping to coach, train. Her sense of humor, her energy is just incredible.
How do I do that? By coaching and speaking and training. I help you with whatever it is that you want to do next. What is your next? Are you ready to take your life, your career to the next level? I can get you there. Contact me at www.barbarahsmith.com.